I am your host, FatDag. You're listening to Wise Advice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at fatdag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Wise Advice. Send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. I believe in you. That part has never changed. Not even like a little bit. Welcome to episode 296 of Wise Advice. So good to be here on a Wednesday afternoon. We are still waiting for word that we can get back into the actual production studio that we were in just before everything shut down. But for now, we're broadcasting this live from my living room, or from my home office, I should say. A lot of you, about 150 or so of you, have joined us live on Facebook. Thanks for being here. It makes it fun. It makes it interactive. We do a pre-show for a 10-15 minutes kind of hangout, and then after the show, we certainly chit-chat as well. But I always love it if you can join us live. We're live every Wednesday afternoon on Facebook. You get a Facebook Live alert pops up and lets you know. If you're looking for some calendar reminders, Twitter, follow the Wise Advice account on Twitter, and that automatically reminds you 15 minutes prior to me going live, and then it lets you know again when I go live. So, hey, Dag's live on Facebook. So go ahead and follow that account. If you turn the notifications on, it makes it a lot easier. I only use the Wise Advice account kind of for those notifications, so you don't get bombarded with a lot of other text unless I'm going live. So, again, thank you all for being here. Please continue to join in. If you're not in the private group, the Wise Wingman Facebook group, a lot of activity going on in there right now, and a lot of motivating people. This fresh start idea has really taken off, and a lot of people are telling you, hey, kitchen's closed, here's what I'm doing, here's my tracker, and there's a lot of accountability going on in there. What's really cool about that, I love Connect. That's my favorite platform. However, it's hard to screenshot some things and post them in Connect, right? So inside Facebook, you can share videos, you can share pictures of your tracker, and you can kind of keep each other accountable. So we're in a private group, Wise Wingman, search for it. One of the cool things about it, there's about 5,000 people in there. And let's see how long, it's been almost 2.5 years we've had that group. I think 2 times a post has been reported by someone saying, hey, this is off topic. You guys do an amazing job of policing yourselves and just really keeping it on the spirit of the group, and that is, how can we help each other? So thank you for doing that. To the Patreon group, all of you who are supporting the podcast financially, thank you so much. Check your mailbox this week. Your physical mailbox, the United States Postal Office. This week alone, you should be getting a letter from me or a postcard in the mail from me talking about your MET goals, your moving goals, your eating goals, your thinking goals. I've got word that they've been printed and delivered, or printed and mailed. So you should be getting them this week, and it's just a great way, a great little tool to kind of just help this restart of you, getting you going, and use that. So inside the Patreon page, you'll get a little more detail there. And of course, we chat about it in the Discord chat that we do every Monday afternoon for patrons. So if you're not getting that, or you're curious what it is, go to fatdag.com, click on the Become a Patron link. For $5 a month, you can subscribe to the podcast. It really just helps me out, keeps this whole thing going, and I try and kick back a little extra here and there to you as well. So, but again, thank you to the patrons. As we go through this iteration, without any financial sponsor support, the patron community really does make a big difference. So thank you. The first email from this show comes in anonymously. I love anonymous email because sometimes we just have to say things. And hey, you guys know that I put myself out there, and it's fine. I get a lot of the blowback coming back, and for the most part, I'm okay with it. I can kind of shrug most of it off. But sometimes, it takes some courage sometimes to say some things, and you just don't really want the feedback, or you just don't want people knowing. So if you want to shoot an email into me and keep it anonymously, it's between us. I absolutely honor that. Because I really just want you to take the therapy by getting it out of your head and writing it in and sending it in, and we will protect you anonymously if you need to. So this one comes in anonymously. It says, Dear FatDag, hey, I've been following you since before, when you were only on Connect. back when you were wondering what a podcast was, and I have thoroughly enjoyed your energy and your desire to make this an awesome community. Guess what? You did it. Thanks. And thanks for serving in the military. We have so much to be thankful for because of people like you. Well, anyway, I've written this letter in my mind many times while listening to you read others' letters. It's time I put it on paper and send it in. So, here you go. My WW journey began January 12th, 2016. First time ever being a WW member. I was on fire, motivated, tracking every bite, measuring every crumb. I had it. After having 6 kiddos and not being the actual mom I wanted my kids to have, or rather needing to be active enough to keep up with my 6 kiddos, I needed this. I was rocking the program. I even had it so much that they offered me a job in 2016. Up to that point, I'd only lost 48 pounds, January 12th to mid-October. I was pretty dang proud of myself. That even includes a 2-month road trip with my whole family where I still lost 9 pounds while on vacation. Crazy, right? Then at the end of November, after my second day of training with WW, I got word that my dad had a stroke and was dying. I flew to Hawaii and I spent the last week of his life with with him. My dad, my rock, he was gone. Other than my coworkers and a few close members, nobody at WW knew about my dad. I used the workshop as an escape from the people's sighing eyes when they would look at me. I used their motivation and positive vibes to lose 2 more pounds and reach my 50-pound charm. At that time, mentally, I felt as successful as I could, as much as I could push for. Time to grieve. I mentally went on maintenance. I spent the next year focusing on being the employee, the leader, the coach my members needed. I took the fun advice I would gather at the workshops and do them at home. I do them great for a good week or so, and then grief would sneak back in. See, when my dad died, my family also fell apart. So angry reminders of his passing were constantly bombarding me. I tell myself all the time, if my family was stronger, my grieving moments wouldn't come back so hard. But when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. My workshop became my lemonade. I tried real hard to get back into the swing of things, and it was working. I lost 5 pounds. Then, trouble comes in multiples, right? My husband was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Food in the house became very puzzling. Everything raised his blood sugar like crazy, or he needed the sugar. The beginning was an odd roller coaster that I had to pay attention to. I put me on the back burner. Again, I gained 15 pounds that year. For some reason, the thought of him not being able to eat something made my desire to eat it even more. So strange. After the fact, we had to have candy in the house for his lows. It made it very much on my mind all the time. So a year after the diagnosis, still coaching the same amazing group of WW members. They are pumped. They're fun. Seriously, it's an awesome community. I just adore them. They have become my friends. My husband has an amazing sensor that tells him his blood sugar every 5 minutes. No more pricks or guessing. We still need to have candy or something high carb around. And my extended family, well, I just can't wait for the day that when everyone can get along to be happy. That will be a while. So I'm not holding my breath for happiness. I really feel like it's my turn. As I reread this, I'm assuming I need some serious advice on staying on track during the hard times. I need to smile at hard stuff and keep moving on with my goals. For me, my hope is in putting my journey to paper, digital paper, I will magically be lifted and the motivation I need will sneak in. Fingers crossed. FatDag, I wrote everything above in about 8 months ago. I meant to write it in on air, but my fears created a roadblock. I'm still coaching. Now I'm coaching on Zoom, but here I am 3 years after getting my 50-pound charm, and if I gain 7 more pounds, I'm back to where I started. I feel like how you described your feelings after your Sunday workshop today. 168 members, that's insane and amazing. I wonder how many of them are not normal members or they're WW service providers. You have risen up to lead. You put yourself on the back burner like me. Are we flawed? No. Did we do that because our heart cares more for others than ourselves? Is that bad? Where's the balance? I don't know the next step, but I feel inspired that I'm not alone. I felt as a WW employee, I shouldn't admit defeat and ask for help. But I suppose that's what I'm doing, right? Where's my magic mindset wand? Feeling similar up in Alaska. So let me tell you the thing that I learned. And your note came in, and we chatted a little bit back and forth as you sent it in, and if you probably know, Lisa and Heather do an amazing job producing the podcast and getting it ready. And then this note came into my inbox, and I just shot it to them. I said, this has to be on episode 296. I don't know what they had planned. I have no idea what 296 was supposed to look like, but this note came in. It stopped me in my tracks. I said, no, this has to be on the next podcast. The reason being is I learned something, and you're right. I did a workshop the other night, 168 people in a virtual workshop. In a lot of ways, it's amazing. I love every single one of you who show up, but 168 people becomes a little daunting to manage, right? And a little bit of the sense of community kind of gets lost because you're in a room of people, you just don't know everybody. But nonetheless, 168 people is amazing. I love every single one of you. Thank you for being there. But I left the workshop going, man, 168 people just tuned in to watch me. And here I am not tracking. And here I am trying to track, but not figuring out. And people ask me what the solution is. I say, go track. And then I go, yeah, but I'm not doing it in the back of my head. And so yeah, I hated all that. And but what happened is, so I took a post on Connect and I wrote it out and I said, and I put it on Facebook as well. I said, here's my struggle. Here's where I feel. And it wasn't a defeat, so to speak. I got a lot of comment back saying, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. And just FYI for the record, if I'm writing it out and sharing it with you, I've already gotten past the beating up part. I'm now on the upswing, or else you wouldn't know about it, which is kind of fun. So anyway, so I got this note in, and I said, yeah, I have to actually put this on the air, because what I learned when I did that is I already knew this. I knew for a fact that I wasn't alone. That's the beauty of this community. There is yet to be something so unique that somebody else can't relate to it. I've yet to find it. 296 episodes in, 3 or 4 emails a day, whatever that math is. Lee, help me out. But you now have an opportunity. There's a ton of emails that have come into my inbox, and very rarely, never yet, has someone said, yeah, wow, that's way out there. Can't relate at all. I get comments and notes back saying, hey, I can relate, even if it's just a little bit. And so when I put that out there, I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't the only WW service provider who maybe was challenged with this. Yet at the same point is I don't know if it's social distancing or I don't know what it is, but it's not something we share. We don't go around talking about it. And so weight is one of those taboo topics that with all of us, we just don't share. And so the unfortunate side is that it's visible, right? So even if we're not talking about it, everybody else is. There are other things that can go on in our head that maybe you could hide. You cannot hide from a weight gain. It's just not possible, right? So sure, everyone knows, but we just don't talk about it. We kind of leave it at bay, and there's really no polite way to talk about it, so that makes more sense too. So anyway, I know this. I know I'm not alone. I know that I'm not the only provider in that sense, but what surprised me was once I finally put it out there is the courage and confidence that other people felt to say, yeah, hey, you know what? I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. I'm in a similar boat. I can relate. How do we fix it? How do we fix it together and move forward? So when this email came in, I said, yeah, we want to talk about it, but I want to go all the way back to the beginning, and I really want to say, my heart breaks for you, and I'm sorry about what you've gone through. I understand the grieving process, not to the extent that you had to go through it, but I understand it enough to know the impact it has on you. It's deadly internally for you. A part of you goes with that. I get that. I completely understand that. And so a thing I've said a handful of times on this podcast is the most important thing you can do is be there for yourself. Allow yourself the opportunity to grieve. Whenever things start to feel right again, then pick up as best that you can and just recommit and say, okay, I'm back in it. But at some point, we do have to then go, maybe maybe I'm just not ready for this. And so, completely unrelated, but maybe that's the opportunity to adjust your tracker so high up that you can grieve and still have some sort of accountability as you go through the grieving process versus abandoning it altogether. Nonetheless, the stress, the emotion, families falling apart and families, things happen when the family changes. So understanding all that, it just makes me want to reach through the microphone and give you just giant big hug. I promise you, if I have coronavirus, you're getting it because I'm a hugger. I don't know that that's ever going to stop. So I will try my best not to give it to you. But man, once they let us out, I'm going to go hug everybody I see. That's just my nature. I just love people. So. So and then you top it back on with one stressor comes in and then another stressor on top of it, and then not only that is the triggers that are in your household make it even more difficult to journey. All the while you did that, you maintained your role as a WW coach. I'm tremendously proud of you for doing so. I've said it myself. There was more than one time that I had an email drafted to my boss and said, "I'm done. I'm not leading the team properly. I don't feel like I'm following the program the way I need to be. I know all the answers. You could ask me any questions about how the program works, and I'm pretty good at giving you the right answer at it. Following it, different concept, and I was working on that. So more than once, I looked at my boss and was thinking in my head, man, I should just hang this up now. I knew when I was standing in front of the meeting room in front of my members, they would ask me a question and I would give them an answer that clearly I wasn't following, but that was the answer. It's weird to give that answer. It doesn't mean I don't know the right answer. Putting it into actual practice is a completely different scenario. So you took that upon yourself as well to say, I'm going to stand up in front of this group because I am valuable. I am providing value to a group of people who need it. And so you have the answers. And so a lot of folks, when they come into our workshop, they're looking for that. Obviously, they're looking for inspiration. I get it. They're looking for some motivation. I get it. But the reality is what they need is a big hug, and they need someone who understands the program to walk them through it so that they can then apply the knowledge that they've given with the information that they have in their head and then make sense of it and build their own connections. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what makes you an amazing coach, is that you know the answers and you're allowing other people to then figure it out for themselves, and that's what's going to make it stick. If we could just walk in and say, do this, do this, do this, and people would blindly follow and do this, do this, do this, well, sure, they could probably hit success, but you can't walk around with them for the rest of their lives. At some point, they've got to be out on their own, so that's why it has to be learned by themselves, and that's why you standing up as a coach, despite all the stuff you had going on, and you still reaching out to help other people, is incredibly valuable. I thank you for that. I really do. And for all the other WW coaches out there who've emailed me or texted me or reached out that are in similar scenarios, what you're doing is providing value. And the courage it takes to stand up and provide the value is tremendous. And I thank you and I salute you for doing that. So where does that leave us? Are we flawed because we put ourselves on the back burner? No, it's not. That's not how it works. They're two different lanes. We're not flawed at all. Or let me back up. We are all flawed, right? So whether, depending on which side of that word you want to use, but having the tendency to love other people, it's a good thing, right? And so you obviously want to put your needs first. Your priorities always have to come first, but you can kind of do both at the same time. And so that's where you really kind of get into that balancing act of just making sure that you can just do the things you need to do. It's not bad. You just bring the balance to it to say, okay, I know what I need in my journey, and then in a separate compartment, I know the facts and the figures to make the journey work for somebody else and allow them to figure it out. It's two separate lanes that are running parallel, and you're doing an amazing job at both. So thank you for reaching out. You're absolutely not alone. No one listening to this podcast right now is alone. None of you. There isn't a single person out there who says this journey is so unique to me that no one can relate to it. If that's you, email it in. I promise you I'll prove you wrong. Please go ahead and do that. But you're absolutely not alone. You're walking with us as a wingman. You're walking with us as a tribe. We're doing it together, and your magic wand is right here. You got it inside your head. It's all you. And by just jotting this down the first time, it starts to unpeel the layers to reveal it to you. So thank you for writing in. The next email comes in out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Sarah writes in. She says, Dear FatDag, hey, I discovered your podcast via Connect about a year ago. At the time, I was 1 year into my journey, 4th time on WW, and a pound short of goal. I had reached that complacency stage where continued loss was more difficult, and I was simply maintaining. In the past year, this is the point where I usually fell away from the program. This time, several factors kept me in the game, one of them being your podcast. So I've been a fan, but not a wingman, and I've given your virtual celebrity status. I feel ridiculous even reaching out to you now. But your Connect post yesterday really struck a chord with me, and I felt compelled to tell you that you are not alone. I know your story forward and backward, but perhaps now it's time to share mine. I grew up in a wealthy California suburb where being fat and ugly was the worst crime you could commit. My mom was a product of coming of age in 1950s and was very focused on appearance and the importance thereof if you ever wanted to be loved. Out of my 3 older sisters, the one that I resembled the most had moved to Utah for college and never returned. Her weight was discussed in hushed tones by the rest of the family as she grew heavier and heavier. By the time I was in college, she weighed over 350 pounds. Driven by fear and self-loathing, I attempted diet after diet through my teen years in college. I was a biology major, and the 2 interests converged in my career choices as physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach. Over my 20-year career, I have coached, trained, taught fitness classes, worked with injured patients, and pursued my own fitness goals. But as you know, you cannot outrun your fork. Although I had a normal BMI, I developed sleep apnea. The lack of sleep led to bad eating habits as I used sugar to self-stimulate. I gained 20 pounds over a short period of time. Every time I got on the scale, I felt completely out of control. I thought of my sister and her failed gastric bypass surgery. I thought how ugly I looked in my clothes. I felt the rolls of lumpiness around my belly and cried myself to sleep. I woke up hating myself for my bad habits. The worst part was the imposter syndrome. Feeling like I was advocating something I couldn't do myself. Oh, it was a dark place, and it's my why. Enter the CPAP. I named him SVEN because, well, it sounds better to say you're sleeping with a sexy Scandinavian than a hose stuck to your face. After about 3 months, I started feeling normal, and I felt ready to break those bad habits. A client told me she was joining WW, and I said I'd join to support her. I happily embraced freestyle and lost the weight. Because my sleep issues weren't weight-related, I still sleep with SVEN every night. See? Doesn't that sound way cooler? And my life has come back into balance. So circling back to you and the reason I felt inspired to write, I wondered if your why hasn't changed. There's a lot of pressure when you are a health and wellness advocate to look the part. Well, we don't want to think the worst of people. They are judgmental. And by putting ourselves forward, we risk the judgment of those people. Part of the reason people like you and I are advocates is because we struggle. Trust me when I say one advocate to another that you are totally legit. I don't care how much weight you gain. Thank you for your charisma and your kindness. We are so lucky to have you. Best, Sarah. Sarah, that's so sweet. Thank you for your kind note. I that's exactly what I wrote about when I wrote that on Sunday night. Is to some degree felt a little bit like the imposter syndrome. However, I also know the things that you now know to be true is that the program knowledge I have on this is solid. Right? I can tell you how to do it, and I can't make anybody do it for themselves. I can't make myself do it at times. So certainly not in control of somebody else's ability to do it. Doesn't mean I don't have the right answers. And so I think in so many times when people come in, I said this in the previous email, when people come back into the workshop, they do want to be inspired and motivated. And that is a visual representation. 100% get that. And that's why at some point I do go, yeah, maybe I'm not the best visual representation. I promise you there are better visual representations that aren't as good at the program. Right? So if you would rather have the visual, someone who looks good standing there and has no idea what they're doing, that's out there. I'm delivering the information where you can understand it, and I'm not the best at it by all means. I'm sure there's someone way better than I am. But the concept is I understand the program enough to get you to the point where you can walk through it. just like you are, Sarah, and your fitness goals and your fitness training, you understand how to get people to do the things that they need to do and walk them through it so they can learn for themselves to build a better, happier life for them. So thank you absolutely for your note. And looking back at your family history, and I get it, people are incredibly judgmental, whether it be your own family, whether it be friends and neighbors, whether it be complete strangers, is everyone has an opinion to share, and they're not afraid to share it. I get from time to time, I get those emails that come in, and so they weigh heavily on my mind. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Like when I get someone coming in saying, Mike, why are you doing a podcast? You're way overweight. You shouldn't, blah, 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 whatever they say, many of them aren't nice. And so it does take a little bit of a sting, but I persevere and I go forward because I know the reality is that I'm providing a service that somebody needs. I don't care if this podcast dwindles down to one person only and one person listens to it, and that person is completely changing their life as a result. That doesn't matter to me. I've never been one to say how many people are listening. I know the numbers, but that's not my goal. My goal is for people who are listening and to tune in that they're finding a resource that they feel adds value to them. If that's just one of you, perfect. I'll keep going. Because that's what I want to do. I want to reach out and just help any single person I can. Now, fortunately, it's more than one. So, boom, now we have the challenge of going, okay, now how do I balance all of that? But in this world where people certainly do judge on appearance first, yeah, it weighs on me. And so, luckily now with this, the Term FreshStart challenge, I figured out a way to try something new. And that trying something new, I'll share that. And interestingly enough, as I shared that, so many people said, hey, that sounds like a neat idea. I may give something similar a try. What I've done now is taught you to think differently, to look at your journey differently, to find out a way. If something isn't working, how can we make a change? And that's exactly what you've done to other people, Sarah, as well. So we're in the same boat. We are walking together. We've got this. So keep up the amazing work that you've done. Thanks for being there for your members as well. The health and fitness world is just an incredibly needed opportunity right now. It improves our lives so many ways, and so keep up the great work. And congratulations on your evening date with SVEN. It sounds like a really nice gentleman. Awesome. Next email comes in out of Toledo, Ohio. Sue writes this: "Dear Mike, hey, I'm your friend from Toledo, Ohio area that texts you occasionally. Usually when I need the motivation, you texted me a little while ago asking for my story. Well, I've been reading your Facebook post lately, and I'm sharing my story because I want to give you motivation and encouragement. I joined Weight Watchers just a couple months before you did. I joined for the zillionth time, knowing that WW was the only weight loss management program I had ever had any success with. My starting weight was 277.8. I was 62 years old when I rejoined on that January 1st, 2016, standing at 5'2". For the first few months, I was wildly successful, dropping over 50 pounds by April. Then I retired. I retired to spend my time with my husband, who was terminally ill with leukemia. I had no idea the roller coaster ride that I was on. After I retired, my husband and I traveled a little bit, mostly to our kids' activities. In May of 2017, my daughter graduated with her master's degree from the University of Oklahoma. In June 2017, my youngest son graduated from high school. In July 2017, we moved my daughter from Oklahoma to Idaho, where she is completing her doctoral studies. And on November 3rd, 2017, my husband took his last breath. Needless to say, my weight during that year fluctuated up and down, mostly up. Before I knew it, I had gained 30 of those 50 pounds back. Adjusting to life after my husband's death hasn't been easy. I'd been struggling with getting my mindset back, and I thought I'd finally settled into losing weight again. Then on April 10th, 2018, when I was in Oklahoma visiting one of my sons, I got a call from the Chicago PD. My 28-year-old son was found in his car. He had committed suicide. I think I was in shock for weeks. At first, I couldn't eat at all. And then I found food again, and in excessive quantities. The weight started coming on again. There's more. When my husband was ill, we moved into the condo that my 28-year-old son had rented because there were no stairs for my husband to navigate. And after my son died, I had to move out. He also owned my car, so I had to give the car back to the loan company. In June of 2018, I was without a home, without a car. I had no idea where my life was headed, let alone any idea where or how I was going to live. My story could have ended there, but it didn't. Through the efforts of some caring family members, I was able to go live with my daughter in Idaho for about 6 months. While I was there, I started my YouTube channel because I knew I needed to reach out to others for help and encouragement. I eventually came back to Ohio, and to make a very long story short, I now have a place to live, a car that was gifted to me, a church that takes care of me, and my friends both here in Ohio and online on YouTube. As of today, I've not only lost that weight that I gained back, but much more. I've lost a total of 91.8 pounds. With my eyes on a much bigger prize, I'm on WW Blue. Sure, I have weeks where I maintain or where I have a gain. I refuse to let my story end here. I'm determined to get to goal. Yes, I get frustrated with my journey when I don't lose, but it's not the program causing it, it's me. When I fall off the program, I'm committed to get back on the very next meal. Not the next day or next week, but the very next meal. I've been an online-only member for years, but I signed up for the meetings last week. When we can all start meeting again together, I know I need the extra layer of accountability to weigh in at the meeting. I also know that I can reach lifetime status. You, like me, have had many changes in your life in the past year or so. Your retirement from a career that you loved, thank you for your service, and a move into a new venture with your military partnerships. You need time to readjust to your new lifestyle. I guess what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is the old cliche that if I can get through the curveballs that have been sent my way, anyone can overcome anything. I know you can get back to whatever it is you think you lost, but why not look instead at what you've gained? You gained tremendous respect in the weight loss community. You touch people through the honesty of your journey. You've helped people like me stay positive and motivated. Your passion for the military has helped countless servicemen and women focus on their fitness and well-being. You have done so much. Thank you. None of us is perfect. If we were, we wouldn't need WW or people like you. You are back in earnest now in your Fresh Start Challenge. Be excited about the story you can share 4 weeks from now. You continue to be an inspiration. Don't ever give up. Thanks for listening, Mike. I wish you good focus. Sincerely, Sue. Well, that was hard to get through. Sue, thank you for your note and the tremendous heartbreak that you've been through. Completely devastating, but what a fighter. Man, what a warrior. I'm incredibly proud of you. I really am. And I took to heart what you said, and I appreciated every single word that you wrote at the end of your email. None of us are perfect, and this life as we go through it, man, it's not all roses. Man, it's far from it. And so every single one of us has to experience something that's going to trip us up. And so as we go through the program, the more we can get these habits ingrained into what we're doing, the more that we are able to kind of navigate some of them a little bit automatically as things completely go south. I love to hear the triumph in your story. I've said this from probably the very earliest episode of this podcast. None of us are alone. None of us walk this alone. And when we hear amazing stories like yours of triumph after seemingly defeat, there is someone listening right now going through something so similar. And when they hear your journey, they find the courage to say, okay, I can do this. I can take one more step. If Sue did it, I can do it. I don't know how Sue did it, but I know she did. And so now very few of us on this journey, on this path, have to forge a brand new path. All we have to do is commit to waking up, developing some sort of plan for the day, marching forward in that direction, and doing the best that we can as it's going forward. You're absolutely right. If you can get through your curveballs, any single person listening, I don't care who you are, every single person listening you can pick yourself up and carry on. It may not be easy. I'm not even pretending to say that it's going to be easy. I'm just telling you. I'm just sharing with you. It's possible. Now that you know it's possible, dig in, dig deep, find what works. Keep fighting until you find the things that do work. And when those things quit working, find something new that works. You got to bounce around from thing to thing to thing, working and working and working until you get to where you want to be, exactly like Sue just did and continues to do. There isn't a single person listening who wouldn't say, if that was me, I just would have given up, right? Or could have, not would have. Many of you, certainly we're a lot of fighters here as well. There isn't a single person that would have said, yeah, I get it. I understand why giving up makes the most sense. Not you. You took it into your own hands and said, no, I'm going to use this. I'm going to thrive from this point forward, and you absolutely have done that. Sue, your note, literally, it touched me. And I thank you for taking the time to write it in. I thank you for sharing, your heart with us. And, my heart beats stronger for you. And again, if I could reach through the microphone and give you a big giant hug, coronavirus free, I absolutely would do that because I'm proud of you. I'm incredibly proud of you. And it's an honor to know you. It's an honor to read your story to thousands of people who are going to be given hope and uplifted because of the strength, courage, and success that you've had by overcoming some of life's most craziest things. Congratulations for all that you've done. Thanks for lifting me up as well. We absolutely got this. Folks, that's the fun part of this podcast. I love the opportunity to share your triumph. And because again, I tell you, there are people who need to hear that what they're trying to do, despite all of the challenges that they've been given and had been dealt, what they're trying to do is actually possible. That's what this whole show is about. I may not have the roadmap. I may not even be able to tell you which direction to start walking. All I know is what you are trying to do is doable. Why would you ever quit with that as a promise? If you know this is doable, I promise you it's doable. If you know it's doable, why in the world would you ever give up on that journey? Because you know success is out there. You got to build it. You got to create it. You got to make it. And when you do, I absolutely want to celebrate with you. I want to share it on the podcast. I want the whole world to know just how awesome you are. Man, I love sharing that. What is it that you're celebrating? Let's share it on the air. Go to fatdag.com. Click on the Wise Advice Podcast. Send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations. I'll work them in as part of the show. I love it when you email in your celebrations because I really want you to be proud of what you're doing. I want you to show other people the pride, and I can hear it in your words. I can see it in the words that you've written, the pride you have for being successful. Keep up the amazing work. Send it in. Tell me where you're proud of what you're doing, and let's get it done together. That's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goals and go after it. On behalf of my producers, Heather and Lisa and Jacob, who will be editing this in the future, we wish you good focus.